All right. Good morning, everybody. How we doing this morning here in mid-Michigan? It is slowly ticking up to the lower to mid-60s. And how's everyone's day going? Hang on, we're trying to set this poll up for y'all. All right. Oh no, I wanted a poll, not a Q&A. Oh, well, you know what? We're just going to leave that off for today. Hope everyone's having a good start to their morning. Today will be we're running a little behind, but we're also going to be cutting it a little short. Don't want anyone to get any misrepresentation of what we got going on here today. It is a good day to be working out in the yard. So we're going to run through a couple of quick articles here for you guys, and then gonna head on outside and enjoy this super early start to the spring that we are having here and now. Okay, got that set up. Just double checking everything. All right, guys. Welcome to the Hat and Beard Show. Appreciate you putting up and dealing with me while we suffer through the initial kinks of the show. We will streamline them eventually, but for now, you guys are some OGs really trooping around with me. Whether you are watching this live or watching this post-stream, I appreciate you hanging out. Today is a slow news day for the NFL, right? There's not a lot going on. We're in that nice little lull between, the hype of the first week of free agency and the NFL draft. So we're going to be kind of mining some stories here for you, doing the best we can to bring content out to the masses. Beantown Breakdown, brother! How you doing, man? Do you see the thumbnail? We got a nice little picture of your New England Patriots right here, ready to rock and roll. Oh, man, you've been a long-time supporter, brother. I'm glad to see you made it to stop by for a live chat here, or a live show, and engage in the chat. Speaking of that, if you guys can, go ahead and share this video around with all your friends. It helps the algorithm. Slap like while you're here, comment in the live chat or down below, and as always, subscribe. Yada yada, blah blah blah. Let's get into the stories and headlines here, guys. We got some couple news to get through, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm burning time, burning good daylight, and there's plenty of yard work that always needs to be done. Which, real quick, before we get off into the actual news story, guys, make sure that you're utilizing this fluke weather that we have to get work done while you still can. There's no reason to do tomorrow's work or today's work tomorrow when you can just get it done today. So take advantage of the weather we're having, at least here in mid-Michigan, and set yourself up for success, because we all know that eventually there's going to be those summery days where we don't necessarily want to do a whole hell of a lot, and we'll be ever so grateful that we took care of the things we need to take care of early on. All right, guys, coming to us we're going to walk over to pff.com. 10 takeaways from the first week of NFL free agency, and there is old Beantown's boys, Drake Maye, and their tattered offensive line. I do think Drake Maye has a very high ceiling ahead of him. I think that the moves that the New England Patriots are doing, Mike Vrabel was a great signing for head coach, and he is going to allow the process to shake out, probably draft some players. I thought DK Metcalf was going to the New England Patriots, but, they really went out and they spent good money on solid investments on defense. Being a Detroit Lions fan, I did kind of hope that we would re-sign Carlton Davis III, but he ended up taking a big money contract to go be your guys' probably corner number one out there in New England. You guys also spent some money along the defensive end. New England went out and spent money, okay? And we here at the Hat and Beard Show, if you guys have been watching, you knew that I was kind of hoping that old Ben Johnson would end up the new head coach of the New England Patriots. I was ready to root for them, or the Vegas Raiders, but we all know the situation there and what Ben Johnson ended up doing. We don't really like to talk about him too much around here anymore. So let's get into this article here. It's about a 10-minute read. There's some things to kind of go over. We're not going to read these bullet points here. The first week of NFL free agency is in the books, and several rosters look vastly different from where they were at the season's end. While there's still a long way to go before we get the full free agency picture, we have some idea of each team's off-season direction. Here we're looking at 10 free agency takeaways that could mean what they could mean for each team/player going forward. Thank you for suffering with me through this 4th grade reading level that I have, guys. Here we go. Detroit, Mr. Detroit City, my guy. Let's go. F the Bears. That's right. Beantown breakdown. If they put a line in front of, yeah, dude. Actually, speaking of, and I don't mean to kind of keep going back and forth with you guys. There is a bit of a delay between the chat and my live here, so just bear with me. I actually think that as many times as I've seen Travis Hunter mocked to the New England Patriots, is that too much drama, too much flash? Is Mike Vrabel going to want to be more of a business-minded individual, Dan Campbell style, and go and get the best player available to put in front of Drake Maye to build that, give him every advantage to succeed? Because we've seen a lot of good flashes out of Drake Maye last year. Still kind of wondering what you guys are going to do about that wide receiver spot, which is why I've seen Travis Hunter time and time again mocked to you guys. But my money, I would go after an offensive lineman. You can have a franchise quarterback, but you got to keep him healthy, right? That's kind of the name of the game, especially with today's evolution and the monsters we're seeing come out at the defensive end position who can just get after the quarterback, even with rule changes to allow quarterbacks to be a little bit more successful. We're seeing the natural, almost like free market progression of the athlete, then tailoring his game to exploit and be more explosive in certain areas. We're seeing a real polishing down into players really utilizing and expanding a very, very unique skill set that they establish early on, and then developing that to a almost elite level and really relying heavily on that, which, again, you want to counter with the better and better offensive linemen. However, we have seen a bit of a drop in talent, the talent level step between collegiate level offensive linemen and professional offensive linemen, mostly because the collegiate game is still so pass happy spread offense, more or less, where the NFL is now, we've talked about this numerous times, turning back more into a gritty ground and pound defense, maybe first minded league. Let's take a look at the chat. I would hate the Hunter pick too. Too much drama. I completely agree. I feel really, really bad. Mr. Beantown breakdown right there. If you guys haven't already, take a walk over to his channel and subscribe. The dude does great work over there, and he's been a supporter of mine since, hell, he might have been one of the single-digit subscribers. So big props to my guy Beantown breakdown over there. He covers a lot of Boston sports, big Patriots fan. But back to the Patriots and Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, I feel bad for the guy because he's just... that Jezebel that he dates, right? Like, she's just going to tear him down. She's just going to absolutely ruin that kid if he doesn't learn to separate. And I kind of would have expected somebody like, a very influential male figure in his life, like a neon Deion Sanders, the head coach, surrogate father figure, to step in and say, hey, kid, you need to do something about this. She is a toxic human being and not what you need to be having and dealing with right now. But you know what? The kid's going to live his life. Travis Hunter's a grown man, right? Travis Hunter's a grown man, and all grown men need to make mistakes on their own. So, all right, back to the article here. We really got off topic there on a rant. Oh, all right, so the Patriots defense could be fun next season, but they haven't surrounded Drake Maye with much talent yet. The Patriots entered free agency by far the most cap space in the league, and they haven't been shy about taking advantage of it, dishing out big money contract to players like Milton Williams, Carlton Davis. I forgot they brought in Harold Landry too, and Robert Spillane. Man, Harold Landry. I think Harold Landry is going to be that guy who's going to you'll see a resurgence. He was very successful under Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, so Mike Vrabel has a lot of familiarity with him. You bring him into the Patriots organization, maybe a little bit over the hill, but still has a lot of explosiveness. Maybe use him more of a Von Miller type role, very elite pass rush ability, but also a leader in the locker room, experienced and knows the type of team that Mike Vrabel is trying to establish, because Mike Vrabel was at one point coach of the year in Tennessee, right? Let's not forget that. He's a very successful head coach who kind of got the short end of the stick in Tennessee. Lack of proper front office leadership could be a huge part of it. Also, the market in Tennessee just isn't necessarily the most successful one. Let me take a look at the draft here, or the chat here real quick. Dude, his girl is a piece of work. Yeah, she is. She is. Well, to keep it family friendly, we're just going to continue to use the term Jezebel. She's a Jezebel, right? She's absolutely a Jezebel. But Harold Landry, I think, can really help the locker room, similar to what Dan Campbell did with Alex Anzalone, right? Although not the exact same situation, but a mentor, locker room leadership type role, but still putting plenty of good tape out on the field. Well, these are exciting moves. Oh, we already looked at that. For defense that regressed last season, yeah, basically they want to know what are we going to do about Drake Maye here. New England's offensive line and pass catching group are paper thin in 24, which caused many of the team's problems. They did add Morgan Moses, Wes Schweitzer to the offensive line, and Mac Hollins to the receiving room. There's a character, Mac Hollins. He's a guy. Look, as a crunchy guy myself, I'm not gonna just completely bash the dude, but he's a little out there, a little out there from time to time. None of the moves are likely massively improve an offense that ranked 30th in PFF grade last season. The Patriots still have significant cap space to make more splash signings. Here we see they mock draft I never pronounce McMillan's first name right. T. McMillan there from Arizona. Number 4 overall. I've seen him go as the number 1 wide receiver off the board. It's a possibility. It's a strong possibility. Does Tennessee or do the Patriots need weapons or do they need protection? I think protection would be the smarter of the two options. Be it that, we want to keep our investment safe and allow him to elevate. If Drake Maye is going to be the guy that we all are expecting him to be and a future franchise quarterback, if not a franchise quarterback moving into his second season, we need to see him elevate the players around him. We're not going to go and try and say you got to be Tom Brady, but, all the greats do that. Regardless of who they're throwing the ball to, they make even sometimes trash players look really, really good. Danny Amendola got a big cash contract after spending a few years in Miami, then going to New England, having Tom Brady kind of build him up, and then he came to Detroit for the last little stint. You know what I'm saying? But all the greats do that. They make the good players look bad, or the bad players look good, and the good defensive players look kind of silly periodically, i.e. Tom Brady, i.e. Patrick Mahomes modern era, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Peyton Manning in the former years, even Aaron Rodgers in his glory years, as much as I hate to say it. Second segment here. The Bengals ensured their high-flying offense isn't going anywhere. To tie the Bengals to the New England Patriots, I really thought that you guys are going to get T. Higgins as well. I thought you guys were in the T. Higgins sweepstakes there. I thought that was a strong possibility. Let's take a look at the chat here. Pats need an O-line that they need it desperately. Yeah, all the best weapons in the world won't matter if you have a quarter of the second throw. Exactly. And there were some free agents out there that you could have gone after. I've been talking about Mekhi Becton a lot here on this channel. I wanted him to come to Detroit. Speaking of Detroit, Kevin Zeitler was a free agent. There have been guys you could have made a move for a Joe Tooney, right? There are guys out there. This draft does, though, have some solid players in the middle rounds that grade out pretty well and could be solutions for you, but do you want to sit and wait for those guys to develop, or are you hoping to get, the next Penei Sewell in the third round, right? Because you need somebody to keep your money man up. That's basically it. And open up lanes in the run game, because the best friend to a young and developing quarterback is a strong run game. Back to the Bengals here. The Bengals pulled off what some thought was unthinkable and managed to sign both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to big money extensions. Makes Jamar Chase the highest paid receiver in football, and Higgins the 9th highest. Ironically, the between him and the two of them, they will be an annual cap hit of $69 million, and that is hilarious to me. However, despite Joe Burrow's MVP caliber performance, the Bengals went 9-8 and missed the playoffs, thanks to a large part to the defense that was torched all year. You thought they'd spend some money on defense. Their top defensive player, Trey Hendrickson, has requested a trade. Come to the Motor City, Trey Hendrickson. Come on down. We'll give you a fucking 4th-round pick for him. The Bengals seem inclined to at least listen to offers. The team has also lost Akeem Davis-Gaither, Sam Hubbard, Sheldon Rankins, while Joe Bocci, Von Bell, and Mike Hilton are free agents. Cincinnati's defensive line. Joe Bocci's a free agent. Hey, East Lansing zone. Joe Bocci coming out of the pros from the Michigan State Spartans. Allowed the 7th most points during 2024 regular season, as is, and based on a lack of attention to the side of the ball, it could be even weaker until the league's next season. Yeah, they didn't make any moves. Becton should be a candidate for the most improved player. I totally agree. He was a bust, right? Looking at the chat here, Beantown Breakdown has a solid take there. I completely agree with you. Unfortunately, he says Mekhi Becton should be a candidate for the most improved player in the league. I agree, but unfortunately, though, the nitty-gritty players, the hard hat and lunchbox guys are never going to get the glory that's Sam Darnold, whose head is slowly getting taller. I think he's starting to get that Peyton Manning type forehead situation going on. And my worry with Sam Darnold is, are they going to be able to make helmets tall enough to go over his gigantic forehead? Because he's getting very Manning-esque in the forehead. Does that mean he's taking HGH? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But Sam Darnold, I think he got most improved player. It's never going to go to a hard hat and lunchbox type guy, unfortunately. But Becton, man, I was salivating over Becton. I really wanted Mekhi Becton to come to Detroit and play interior offensive line along Penei Sewell for a long, long time. The Cowboys seem to be gearing up for a Micah Parsons extension while also trying to fix their depth. The Cowboys are in a very unique situation. They do not have a lot of money, and you're going to have to spend a lot of money to bring back Micah Parsons. It's been a long time since the Cowboys made a big splash in free agency, and then 2025 has been no different. They've handed out one-year deals to Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Peyton Turner, Jack Sanborn, and Dante Fowler, among others, after restructuring Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb's contracts to create more cap space. Javonte Williams is a pretty good signing there. They did need some run. They need a lot of running back help. Miles Sanders, fucking bust. Peyton Turner, not too wild about him at the edge position. Jack Sanborn could be a solid rotationary guy. And Dante Fowler is bringing veteran leadership. We're going to take a look at the chats popping off here. Beantown Breakdown, Darnold got that go-go gadget. He got that go-go gadget extended neck. Yeah. He do, though. Doesn't he look like a noodle head, like a bobblehead with spaghetti noodle for a neck? You know what I'm saying? And Mr. Detroit City, Sam Darnold forehead pops up on my on my Wi-Fi router. I swear. Oh, you guys are funny today, man. You guys are funny today. Yeah, that's Sam Darnold forehead. That is a big old forehead. On the article here, pops up on my Wi-Fi router. All this points toward a team working on a long-term deal to keep Micah Parsons in Dallas after the Browns inked Myles Garrett to a 4-year, $160 million contract. Parsons' market value is clear. The Cowboys rank 11th in the cap space. Pro over the cap, so could potentially be in the cards sooner rather than later. Yeah, they're just gonna have to go out there and get Micah Parsons. They're just gonna have to go out there and sign Micah Parsons. I mean, Micah Parsons being able to hypothetically walk in free agency would be similar to if the Lions were to let Aiden Hutchinson walk. And I realize it's the same position, but what the individual means to the team and the locker room, to the fandom, as well as their production on the field. Micah Parsons, as much as I'd like to see him leave Dallas, because I don't like Dallas, and I do like Micah Parsons, yeah, I'd love to see him leave Dallas, but you can't. You cannot possibly let a generational talent like Micah Parsons, and again, like we talked about yesterday, that draft class, Micah Parsons, Penei Sewell, Jamar Chase, you got some dogs in that draft class. You can't let him go, and you can't let him go for nothing. You don't want to be standing there looking like your NFC East divisional rivals, the New York Giants, letting Saquon go to could you imagine that there could be a world where the Cowboys are unable to re-sign Micah Parsons, and then just to stick it in their eye, he goes to Philadelphia, right? A divisional opponent, help him win a Super Bowl. I don't know Philadelphia's money situation, but is that real unrealistic to think? Looking at the chat here, Beantown Breakdown, pretty soon Solar Company is going to be contracting Darnold to see if they can rent his space for forehead. Yo, Sam Darnold should like work with a solar company just to like troll everybody with that big old dome of his, yo. That big old dome. Are the Seahawks rebuilding or not? The Seattle Seahawks have one of the most interesting off seasons thus far, trading Geno Smith and DK Metcalf while cutting ties with Tyler Lockett. Those moves would make one think that Seattle wants to get out in front of a rebuild, but then the team doling out big contracts to quarterback Sam Darnold and wide receiver Cooper Kupp. Speaking of Sam Darnold, while Darnold had a great season in Minnesota this past year, his career inconsistencies and gigantic forehead caused concern for the long-term legitimacy of that performance. Kupp has dealt with injuries the past couple seasons and will be 32 when the regular season kicks off. Though he's been productive when on the field, the Seahawks look like they'll be one of the harder teams to assess ahead of the 2025 season. Man, Cooper Kupp is 32 years old already. Dude, where does the time go? Man, oh man. Aaron Rodgers wants to take his time with decision, but other teams may not be willing to wait. At 41 years old, Aaron Rodgers is on the open market for the first time in his career. While he didn't perform nearly as poorly as many believe, his 77 PFF grade was nearly identical to his final season in Green Bay. He's definitely not the same player who was a consistent MVP favorite. The quarterback market has been relatively quiet as Justin Fields and Sam Darnold are the only two free agent quarterbacks to receive significant contract deals. That's right, because the Lions signed Kyle Allen yesterday, or 2 days ago, yesterday. Regardless, each team picking in the top three could use a signal caller, while the Vikings and Steelers may also be looking for a short-term answer at the position. However, with Russell Wilson still being a free agent, Rodgers may not have his pick of the litter should he wait too long and Wilson land in a more coveted location. I think any team that wants to go for either Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson are going to be making a huge mistake. Let's see. I think this is. Oh, we're almost at the end here, fellas. We're almost at the end of this here article. Cam Ward, according to PFF, Cam Ward will be a Tennessee Titan, barring anything crazy. The Titans' focus in free agency appears to be shoring up their offensive line as they brought in Dan Moore Jr. and Kevin Zeitler, even Kevin Zeitler, 35 years old, still playing at an elite level, to aid a unit that earned 8th worst PFF pass blocking grade and 2nd worst run blocking grade in 24. They've also made some additions, bringing in Cody Barton, Xavier Woods, and Draymond Jones, trying to beef up that defense a little bit. Yet the Titans still haven't been linked to any of the available quarterbacks. Will Levis posted the 3rd worst PFF passing grade among qualifying quarterbacks in 24. And the only other quarterback currently on the roster is Brandon Allen, who we have graded out even worse than Levis had he played enough snaps to qualify. The lack of action at quarterback position during the free agency period suggests the Titans plan on using a first overall pick in the 25 draft and Heisman Trophy finalist Cam Ward, considered by most analysts to be the top signal caller in this year's draft. Ward was the highest graded quarterback in college football, while his PFF grade trailed Jackson Dart by 0.2 grading points. Ward's 31 big-time throws ranked only behind Kyle McCord. With numbers like those, it's easy to understand why Tennessee would prefer to bank on him rather than to start a quarterback whose best years are likely behind him. What do you guys think? Cam Ward better than Shedeur Sanders? I think so. More pro-ready? No. I think Shedeur Sanders is more pro-ready right now than Cam Ward, but I think the ceiling for Cam Ward is higher than Shedeur Sanders. See, Beantown Breakdown hat. Don't let the contracts for the Patriots deceive you. The guaranteed money is actually real low, so they're realistically being kind of cheap. Yes, I agree with you there. If there's one thing that I will always give the New England Patriots a tremendous amount of credit for, and I use them as an example on what successful organizations need to do. Although the Patriots are not what they were 10 years ago, the New England Patriots are incredibly savvy with their money. They are not only wise in how they distribute money year over year based on contracts, the guaranteed money is always structured in a unique way that is very team-friendly. And then, as I've said time and time again, the New England Patriots are one of the organizations who does it the right way. they sign big deals for their superstars to keep them there. But then after each year, they restructure that deal so that they can afford to go and get more parts and pieces to make up some deficiencies that might pop up around your superstar players, allowing you to keep them in-house for as long as potentially possible, while also maintaining team-friendly contracts with other elite players, because once you start winning and you become successful, players want to come and play for a chance at a championship. And the Patriots do it the Patriot way, and I think they're going to continue to do it in a very successful manner. Let's go back to here, take a look at the chat. Jeanette Hall says, Rodgers can stay on the open market. I agree, because he is a turd sandwich. Mr. Detroit said, I say F all the QBs in this class. I agree with you. I think this is a weak quarterback draft class. I think Shedeur Sanders really, yes, between him and Cam Ward, I just said he is more pro-ready right now. I think that still rings true and will ring true through their rookie seasons, but neither one of them really excite me. Last year was a big year for quarterbacks. Aiden Hutchinson's year was a good year for quarterbacks with Bryce Young, who took a while but turned it around, especially when, unfortunately, he had to be compared to C.J. Stroud, who had a monster rookie year. I'm not too wild about this year's quarterback class, both in free agency or in the draft. This is a good year for offensive linemen, defensive linemen, not a great year to be needing a quarterback, period, point blank, in free agency or in the NFL draft. But when your hands are tied, like the Tennessee Titans, you're kind of stuck having to make this move. They kind of, they missed out on everybody last year or 2 years ago with Will Levis and had to settle for Will Levis. Will Levis is not the answer. Can Cam Ward be that guy? Possibly, but they need to do what they're doing and put an offensive line in front of him. If anything, Mr. Detroit City says, if anything, these teams should tank for Arch in 2 years. I actually kind of want Detroit to tank for Arch. I started looking at it with the way Jared Goff's contract lines up. It's like perfect for Detroit to go after Arch, dude. Sanders' lack of football IQ is going to hurt him. I agree. And that's what I was going to say, Beantown Breakdown, was I think the only reason Shedeur Sanders gets the hype that he's getting is because of who his dad is, right? If Shedeur Sanders was named Shedeur Michaels and he wasn't Neon Dion's son, I don't quite think he'd be getting the national media recognition. He'd probably be a second, third round guy. I mean, Colorado, not a big school, not known for putting out a lot of top end talent. And I just don't think he would be getting the hype if he wasn't Dion's son. I think he would be a more down to earth. The expectations would be way more realistic. But when your dad is a Hall of Famer, those expectations are very, very high on what your ceiling should be. Mr. Detroit City, Sanders is not a freak athlete. He cannot even dunk a basketball. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. He can't dunk a basketball. How tall is Shedeur Sanders? Because if he's only like 6'1", I'm 6'3", and I can't dunk, but I'm also a large 37, almost 37-year-old dude. I'm not a petite little flower, right? Not a petite flower. And here they got Cam Ward from the University of Miami. The U. Is the U back? Did you guys see? God, who's the quarterback that just transferred there? He's already had his Lamborghini stolen, and he's cheated on his girlfriend. Some quarterback just transferred there. I can't remember who. I can see it in my head. I can't think of his name right now. Some guy used the transfer portal. I kind of low-key hate this QB class. Yeah, I do too. I'm not at all excited about this QB class. This QB class is gross. This free agent class was kind of gross. This offseason is just kind of gross, right? And that is partially because we've seen teams learn how to restructure contracts, keep elite talent in-house, and most big splashes we've seen kind of more or less via trade. Really, is DK Metcalf the biggest move in free agency? Joey Bosa, although older, was he a big move? I mean, he was not a trade, but there just wasn't a lot of, really exciting free agent moves. I love the Detroit signing of DJ Reed, but again, this isn't overly that exciting, both free agent or draft. Here we go. We get to talk about Benedict Arnold Johnson does not want to find out if his offense works as well behind a bad offensive line. After a dazzling tenure as the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, Benedict Arnold Johnson was brought on to be the next head coach of the division rival Chicago Bears. One thing the Lions always had under Johnson was an elite offensive line, which finished second only behind Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, according to PFF's rankings. The Chicago Bears fielded far from an elite offensive line last season, as Caleb Williams was easily the most sacked quarterback in the league. While several of those 68 sacks were Williams' fault, that's still a hard number to swallow. They know a lot about swallowing in Chicago. The Bears wasted no time in fixing that issue, trading for Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson. Jonah Jackson to man their guard spots and signing Drew Dahlman to play center. Drew Dahlman sucks. Joe Thuney's good. Drew Dahlman sucks. Jonah Jackson also sucks. He inked a big contract to go to the Rams. He played 1 year in L.A., and then they cut his sorry ass. Jonah Jackson was on the downfall or the negative trajectory. Damn it, I am fucking leaking coffee all over the place here. Damn it. Jonah Jackson was just what's up? Oh yes, Beck. That's right. That Beck dude. Yes, Mr. Detroit City. Back to the quarterback at the U who had his Lambo stolen and cheated on his girlfriend after transferring. It's that Beck guy. Carson Beck, is that his name? Is that his name, Carson Beck? I think that's his name. And the one thing I wonder about him, is he related to John Beck, the quarterback, the old quarterback from the Eagles that was drafted out of? I highly doubt it, thinking of his actions now, and I'm pretty sure John Beck was like hella Mormon. I don't think they're related. I think I just answered my own question. On paper, the team got significantly better with Johnson leading the way. The Bears may finally have a big play offense and give it up to the Chicago Bears, you guys. Big time, 3-time off-season champs, three-peating in the off-season. Woo! Good for you, Chicago. Nobody likes you. Nobody likes you guys. Caleb Williams, overrated, overhyped, and God, I hope he just flops. I really do hope Ben Johnson doesn't win a single fucking game in Chicago. I can't stand that guy. I kind of feel like the Johnson is going to be a struggle this first. Yeah, dude, I think Ben Johnson, if I'm being completely honest, I liked Aaron Glenn and I liked Ben Johnson in Detroit. I don't think either one of them has what it takes to be a head coach. I think Aaron Glenn has the personality because he played in the league. He will be more successful than Ben Johnson. I don't see either one of them, though, being, all that great. I don't see them correcting what needs to be corrected in the organizations, that need to be corrected, mostly because, the organizations that they went to. Both of them have front office issues up the wazoo. Really, the best possible landing spot for either one of those two guys would have been New England, where you have a strong ownership and a very wise front office group, right? A polished polished franchise, but Mike Vrabel was pretty much a shoo-in. That would have been the best spot. Chicago, no, their front office is trash. Their ownership meddles too much. And the Jets, the Jets have this problem of being not even little brother in that market, right? You're not even little brother in New York. You're the third brother behind the Bills, and then the Giants get a little bit more hype than you do because they've won more Super Bowls more recently than you have. The Jets, gangrene, you're just kind of that gross leftover, forgotten about thing, but unfortunately you still have the New York media market that holds you to that incredibly high standard, talks about every little tiny thing, which shortens the rope that you're allowed to have as a New York head coach. Robert Saleh was a good head coach. He just had a terrible organization underneath him, and I think you're going to see a lot of the same deficiencies that clipped Robert Saleh also clip Aaron Glenn. And I don't want to wish Aaron Glenn any ill will. I'd like him to be successful. It's just the reality is what the reality is, and the reality is that he's in a bad situation. Ben Johnson, a little bit of an inverse. Fuck that guy. I really fucking can't stand him. What he did to the Detroit Lions with basically having the Bears tamper with him in early November. Ben Johnson then started really fucking the offense over, and then to go to a divisional rival with such a douchebag at quarterback and just such a skeevy organization. Man, Ben Johnson can just go fuck himself, right? I hope he never wins a fucking game in Chicago. I hope the Bears completely implode. They never win a fucking game over the next 3-4 years. Can't stand him. Caleb Williams is a turd sandwich stacked on a turd sandwich, is wrapped up in a big giant douche. That's how I feel about the Bears. Some guys are just suited better as coordinators, and then head coaches. Perfect example, Josh McDaniels. My guy. Yo, Beantown breakdown. Where's the lie? Where is the lie? Spitting hot fire. There's a reason why Eric Bieniemy never became a head coach. Because they don't have the balls. I don't think Ben Johnson has the balls to be a good head coach. He's a coward. He's a spineless coward. He should have just stuck, being the little gremlin masterminding an offense where all he had to deal was draw up goofy fucking plays. Look at Mike Martz. You should have just stayed as Mike Martz and not been a head coach, dude. You should have stayed as an offensive wizard and never became a head coach, right? Man, we are slogging through. There's three little segments here. The Texans, even thinking about C.J. Stroud was sacked 52 times in the regular season, the second most in the league. That contributed to something of a sophomore slump for the reigning offensive rookie of the year. What did the Texans do in response? Trade their best offensive lineman, Laramie Tunsil, in his fucking gas mask bong, and former first-round guard Kenyon Green, who sucked. The only thing Kenyon Green has going for him is that he's like 24 years old. He's very young. Tunsil was by far the team's best pass blocker last season, grading out an 89 according to PFF. Trading Green to the Eagles made a bit more sense as he struggled mightily in pass protection to the tune of, he only scored 40 in PFF's grading. An even worse mark on a true pass sets. They added Ed Ingram and Laken Tomlinson is still in the league. Damn, bro. Laken Tomlinson was a first-round draft pick by the Detroit Lions a long time ago out of Duke. I think he played at Duke. Yeah, this was back. Dude, Laken Tomlinson, he was drafted fucking in the first round. He was drafted before Taylor Decker. Yeah, he played back way back in the day, Laken Tomlinson. I can't believe he's still kicking around in the league, dude. I mean, good on him. Getting that bag, dude. After being the NFL's biggest surprise last year, the Broncos won't be sneaking up on anyone. Some knuckleheads rank the Broncos as having the worst roster in football following the 24 NFL draft, and then a chance to revise that, rank them as the second worst roster following the 2024 preseason. And it was these guys. The Broncos proceeded to win 10 games and earn a playoff berth for the first time since winning Super Bowl 50. The defense in particular significantly improved thanks to Nick Bonito, Brendan Jones, and Defensive Player of the Year performance from Pat Surtain. Yeah, Pat Surtain is just a lockdown corner, man. And there was a little bit of hope amongst the Lions fandom not last year, but 2 years ago, that we were going to try and trade for Pat Surtain at the trade deadline. Let's run over to the chat real quick here. Beantown Breakdown, you have to have balls of steel to make asshole calls and stand by them. Lots of guys just aren't like that. Exactly. What we will see with Ben Johnson is the absolute inverse and contrast of what we see with Dan Campbell or Mike Vrabel or Mike Tomlin. You're going to see a guy who will probably have a lot of excuses. You're not going to see, obviously, I don't think Ben Johnson has the emotional range that Dan Campbell has, nor the ability to wear your emotions on your sleeve like Dan Campbell. But I don't see Ben Johnson as a leader, right? I see Ben Johnson as that skeevy little HR guy who thinks he's got a bunch of power and worked his way up to HR management. But when assholes meet elbows, the dude doesn't know what he's doing. He ain't going to take any accountability. He ain't going to own up to his decisions. He's never going to stand there and say, this was me. He's going to find probably every reason in the book. And it won't be direct. He'll take the pussyfooted manner of, we could have, things could have, we should have. He won't outright call players out for being, too soft, right? He's not going to, he's just a fuckface. Hot take. With a year of tape on Bo Nix is going to crash out hard this year. I would be inclined to agree with you on Bo Nix. The thing is let's be real, there was so much tape on Bo Nix from college. I mean, didn't he play like 14 years in NCAA, right? I mean, Bo Nix is closer to retirement at this point in his NFL career than he is to being a rookie, right? Denver reinforced its defense with two former 49ers playmakers, Talanoa Huafunga and Drake Greenlaw, while giving that, which are good signings. Both of them have potential to bounce back from Greenlaw missed a lot with injuries, while giving rookie standout quarterback Bo Nix another weapon and tight end Evan Ingram. That's a nice little piece right there for him. With the roster looking even stronger on paper, Nix is expected to progress in year 2. The Chiefs may finally find themselves with some competition in the AFC West. Don't agree with that. I do agree with Beantown Breakdown in the chat that we will see a regression from Bo Nix. How much of a regression, I don't know. Do they win double-digit games next year? It's a possibility. I do think the Chiefs are going to start to slip. I think that the Super Bowl performance, as well as the performance that the team put on the field, really indicates that the Chiefs are starting to get a little fatigued. Their playmakers continue to get into legal trouble, and there's only so many times you can restructure deals around a Travis Kelce who is fizzling out and getting older and older by the day. Their defense was still pretty solid. Chris Jones is a defensive MVP candidate year in and year out from the defensive tackle position, which really speaks volumes to the athleticism and the pedigree of the player. But do the Broncos challenge the Chiefs in the West? Possibly. I think the West is going to be down this year. Obviously, Las Vegas should be an interesting team under Pete Carroll. But does Geno Smith elevate the players around him? Do the Raiders go and get like an Ashton Genty? What do the Chiefs do? Do they go draft another wide receiver who in the offseason is going to get into legal trouble? And then who else is out there with the LA Superchargers? Yeah, the Superchargers could be a sneaky contender. Justin Herbert could finally take that next step to a 1, 2, or 3 best quarterbacks in the league. They did bring in some weapons around him, but will their defense hold up is the question. The AFC West is a little interesting if you start to analyze it a little too hard. The Chiefs are going to crash out hard the next 3 seasons. That window is closing. Yes, Beantown Breakdown, I completely agree with you. The window is closing, and when you continue to make Super Bowl runs year and year in, you're just going to get fatigued. Look at the 49ers. Look at the Detroit Lions. You know, obviously the Lions are not necessarily a consistent run, but both of the Niners and the Lions NFC Championship teams 2 years ago, both teams hampered with injuries. The Niners doing it multiple years in a row. The Lions maybe showing a lack of experience with proper injury prevention for a team that is expected to make long runs. You know, both regular season, lots of wins, and then deep runs in the playoffs. The Eagles have let several key contributors walk, but that's okay. After winning a franchise second Super Bowl, the Eagles have some decisions to make in the offseason. They let several key players walk in free agency, including Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Mekhi Becton. I think those are big ones. Darius Slay, oh wow, James Bradbury, Isaiah Rodgers, and Oren Burks. Wow, while also trading Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to the Texans. Well, he's a turd sandwich. Fuck Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Legit. That's coming from the mitten, dude. You can go fuck yourself. That sounds like a lot, but the Eagles have built to survive such high volume departures. They have, because they've had so many draft picks, because they've just wheeled and dealed in the draft, that they just reload. They just have reloaded. Williams can be replaced by Moro Ojomo, who came on late last season and earned a 90 PFF grade in the Super Bowl. Jalix, I don't know. Hunt started to see an increase role late in the year and could be a very capable replacement for Sweat. And we all saw the Eagles' rookie cornerbacks accomplish last season to know they're in good hands despite losing veteran options. Okay, so that makes sense with Darius Slay and James Bradbury, because they did have the kid from Toledo who played his fucking mind or his balls off. Oh, God, what was that kid's name? Quinyon Mitchell. And then we seen Cooper DeJean make that sweet pick six in the Super Bowl. All right, well, that's it for that article. Man, that took us a while to get through that. That was wow, we were on that one for a while, guys. We still have one more article, so if you haven't already, smash the like button, share this video around with all your friends. Go ahead and keep commenting down below. I do love the chat that we got going on. You guys are being engaging for a Tuesday morning, and I absolutely love it. But we are going to kick it over to some Detroit Lions news. We're going to be bringing it back to the hometown here into the Detroit Lions, kicking over to PFF.com. Yeah, PFF.com. This is a Tim 20-Man Lions beat writer. Long time beat writer. I do like what he typically writes. 20-Man breaking down the Lions free agent signings. This is a quick little read here. We shouldn't be too much longer, guys, so if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, share this video around with all your friends. We are going to touch on the Detroit Lions, and we're going to be getting up out of here because we got to take advantage of the warm weather. Got some lawn sweepage to do. Can't wait to sweep my lawn. Shout out to my dad for letting me borrow the lawn sweeper. Really appreciate that. There are just the problem is that my mulching blades didn't quite mulch up everything the way that I wanted to last year. So I got a lot of dead kind of smothering going on. I need to open up the soil, so we're going to sweep, and then next weekend we're probably going to dethatch, and if we got time, we're going to pull cores and core aerate because I got to get my lawn to start breathing here a little bit. We got to get some grass thrown down, and we got to start getting that nitrogen in the grass, guys, because as we all know, if you don't know, nitrogen drives the bus. That's what gives us a lot of chlorophyll in the blades of the grass, gives us that good, deep, rich green color. That's why, in case you haven't noticed, a lot of times your lawn will always look a lot greener after a thunderstorm, and you think, well, of course it looks greener after a thunderstorm. It rained. Yes, and rain is good. Rain makes corn makes whiskey makes my baby feel a little frisky. But the big thing with the thunderstorms is the lightning. You see, the lightning causes nitrogen to be released in the atmosphere, and it rains down and saturates the grass into the soil, and then that nitrogen is used to produce a lot of chlorophyll and helps drive the bus, as we say. Nitrogen drives the bus. So you always want a good nitrogen, especially right out of the rip with a good starter fertilizer like a 13-13-0. Or if you want to go long-term with a more natural organic mix, just keep pounding it with a nice nitrogen-rich Milorganite or Milorganite substitute, something along those lines that you can't really over-fertilize. But nitrogen drives the bus. That's a good thing that you guys want to get down first and foremost. Also, nitrogen helps burn out the mold and some of the mildewy shit. It helps kind of burn off some of that more wet ingrowth stuff that you don't like. However, it will push. It drives the bus both with your grass and with the weeds. So get your nice little nitrogen dose down before you seed. Wait a couple weeks and hit it with that weed and feed with the triple threat. So you get that good vapor lock underneath the soil so that all the seeds, as you're seeding and mowing, the seeds that fall down, you want to wait for the grass to grow. You want to wait for the grass to grow before you use a triple threat creating the vapor lock, because if the grass hasn't grown past the soil yet, that vapor lock will kill, and then overseeding is completely pointless. So seed, wait a couple weeks, then hit it with your triple threat so that you can create that vapor lock underneath the grass blades so that all the weed seeds that have fallen post growth of the grass then get smothered. They can't then produce and create more seeds that it can grow. And most triple threat, especially if you go with the name brand Scott's triple threat, is going to give you a good 3-week or a good 3-month production of weed prevention. So really, if you throw it down early in the season, you shouldn't have to throw it down again until mid to late summer. Give yourself a good fall production, as well as feed everything into the fall years. And in between those times, you can throw down a little bit of Milorganite here or there to really kind of keep that nitrogen rich in the soil. Man, did we get off topic on that one. Let's take a look at the chat. Look at the talent that's left on the Eagles this offseason. Just goes to show how hard it is to stop at the top of the mountain. Exactly, my dude. Exactly, dude. The Eagles are rocking and rolling. Now that we talked about grass for 5 minutes, I appreciate it. I don't know if you guys know, or can tell, I love mowing the lawn, dude. I love taking care of my yard. Tim 20-Man here says, draft, develop, re-sign. The Detroit Lions general manager and head coach Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell live by that as their preferred method of roster building, because that's what successful organizations do. You identify talent, you draft talent, you keep the elitist of the elite talent that you draft, and then you completely continue to recycle and just just keep that wheel rolling, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's been a theme this offseason for the Lions as their roster building for the new league year continues. Quote, "You don't really know these players," Holmes said last offseason when talking about free agency. "You see what you see on film, but like I've told you all, that's the easy, coherent part. Can a guy come off the football? Okay. Can a guy come off? Okay. Can a guy come off football? Okay. That's easy. But you don't really know them, and that's why you have to be real careful." And I've said it, and this is just confirming what I've been saying for years at this point, that Brad Holmes looks for a psych profile on an individual. They want to know what you do in your off time. Are you a family person? What are your hobbies? Which is kind of why I lean more towards, I don't know if we're going to be re-signing Milton Williams when JMO's contract comes up, because is he fitting into the culture that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell strive to accomplish here? Is he that guy? So far, I think JMO, although has turned many corners, he needs to still take that one big step into maturity. Does another full off season with Jared Goff and company do that for him? Possibly. We'll see. We'll see. It's one of my worries about JMO, right? Is he's not necessarily a cultural development guy, and clearly Brad Holmes looks for a very specific psych profile on an individual. So far, Holmes has signed veteran quarterback DJ Reed, defensive tackle Roy Lopez, linebacker Grant Stewart, tight end Kenny Yaboa, and quarterback Kyle Allen from outside the organization in free agency. Holmes was deliberate in targeting all five as culture fits on being top productive veteran players. Kyle Allen. So the signing of Kyle Allen, that means Hendon Hooker's done, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. Comment down below when you're rewatching it. What's your thoughts on Dolak? I think he's fit perfectly with Detroit. Maybe. He might fit with Detroit. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What I am worried about, though, is how high I was on Hendon Hooker being the guy, and how going into the playoffs, the Lions went out and signed Teddy Bridgewater off the street after being a high school football coach, and now they're bringing in Kyle Allen outside. Just tells me that Hendon Hooker's time is done. He didn't develop. He can't execute the offense, and he's not what we want. He's not the answer. And I'm not saying you need to have a superstar quarterback as your backup, but God forbid something happens to Jared Goff, right? Reed was one of the top cornerbacks in the free agent market this offseason and fills the void left by Carlton Davis, who signed with the New England Patriots. Lopez and Stewart are tough, gritty players who give Detroit good depth along with their their interior defensive line. And at linebacker, two areas where they were hit with injuries last year, unfortunately. We did have a strong class before, or a strong linebacker room before injuries just fucked us right in the A, dude. Detroit players who give Detroit good last season. Yarbrough and Allen are veteran receivers or reserves with experience. The bulk of the work Holmes has done this offseason has been re-signing players he already knows fits in Detroit. What do we got here? He'd sure up the middle of the field. It's definitely a character culture guy. Seems like a Campbell kind of guy. Yeah, the problem is that we already have, like, in my opinion, I think we have a pretty solid middle, right? Both at all three levels. We have good rotationary players along the interior of the defensive line. Jack Campbell continues to make strides at linebacker and is poised to take and become the next Brian Urlacher type player in the NFL. And then we have two of the top 5 safeties in the NFL. So inside out, I like to build from the middle out of the defense. I think we're already solid, and then we have good rotationary players. I think Detroit really needs help at the edge on defenses, which is what I would prefer. We do is actually trade out of the first round, trade back from 28 to like 36. My neighbor's dogs are out barking, scare the shit out of me. And go after a guy like Jack Sawyer, or wait a little bit, and there's a kid from Arkansas that I think is pretty good. I don't know unless it's just an absolute guy. And the thing with Detroit is Brad Holmes is going to do whatever Brad Holmes wants to do because until proven otherwise, Brad Holmes knows more than everybody else. Knows way more than me. And I have to just trust his process. What Lions fans should really take from Holmes' strategy this offseason, he believes last year's roster could win a championship had injuries, especially on defense, not been one of the bigger themes in 2024. I agree. Hutch was going to be defensive MVP. Our defense is going to be lights out. I just think that we just stay the course and just keep building like we've been, Holmes said in January. I do think we were very close. Obviously, I thought that we were very close this year, but nothing is going to alter our approach. Has been in terms of trying to continue to improve and keep building. Obviously felt really good about this season, but fell short. We're going to stay committed to the process because results speak for themselves. And don't forget about potential contract extensions. And this is what I've been saying for a long time right here. The contract extensions are going to be coming up. Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph, which probably factored into free agency as well. That's on top of extensions doled out last year to Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra, Aleem, Jared Goff, totaled a reported $541 million. And this is where you got to realize, Hutch, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs will be eligible for contract extensions next offseason. J-Mo could be in the conversation for an extension too. The following is a breakdown of Detroit's free agency. We're not going to get too into it. I gotta go to the bathroom. We got to wrap this up because I got to go to the bathroom. I fully believe that Detroit was healthy. They could have made it to the Super Bowl. I agree too. If Detroit was fully healthy, mostly because Philly was going to have to come to Detroit, and Ford Field is a nightmare for people to play at. I do think that if we were healthy, and I don't even mean, super healthy, you could handle a Derek Barnes, you could handle an Aleem McNeil. Hell, you could even handle, one of the corners going down. But when you lose Carlton Davis, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, DJ Reader's in and out of the lineup, Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, Amik Robertson, when you start to pile all those injuries up, there just wasn't enough guys behind them, because then the guys behind them, Malcolm Rodriguez, lost for the season with a knee injury. Levi Onwuzurike in and out of the lineup, injury. Not Michael Brockers. Oh, God, who's that other big fat-ass defensive tackle we took out of Western Kentucky? Whatever, he sucks too. There just wasn't enough bodies to keep throwing at him. I mean, hell, at one point we were relying on James Houston to be our lead pass rusher. I don't even think he finished the fucking season on the roster because he's such a turd sandwich, right? We had to go and trade for a 32-year-old well over the hills Zadarius Smith to be our pass rush specialist, and all he managed to do is compile 4 sacks, right? Josh Paschal was equally as good as him. We just got too dinged up, man. We just got too dinged up, and it was just too much to overcome. We went and signed Roy Lopez. He started all 16 games. Linebacker Grant Stewart, nice depth piece. A 4-core special teamer with the experience of playing on defense. Probably going to be a nice Jeremy Reeves-Maben replacement right there. Probably going to be one of your leaders in the special teams room. The guy knows his role. Kenny Yeboah is a good blocking tight end. We did need a good, solid blocking tight end. Hours before we signed Kenny Yeboah, if that's even how you pronounce it, I had literally just got done saying how I didn't think the Lions would even draft a tight end because we had plenty of tight ends on roster. Obviously, those guys aren't getting it done. Outside of Sam Laporta and maybe even Brock Wright, but James Mitchell, not getting it done, didn't develop into the player we wanted him to be. Shane Zylstra was injured all season last year. He is a receiving threat, but not a blocking threat. Yeboah brings in a good, call it maybe even a 6th offensive lineman. Another guy with a pedigree for getting his nose in and around the line of scrimmage and moving people, setting the edge, giving our run-first offense another push up front, right? What's the status of Hutch? Beantown Breakdown. The status of Hutch, as far as I can tell, so I follow Hutch on Instagram, and from everything I've seen about Aiden Hutchinson, from the recovery videos, the rehab videos, I know that him and his family just summited the tallest mountain in the Hawaiian Islands. Everything looks great, man. I seen him running actually on turf, and looks great, dude. Looks great. My expectation for Aiden Hutchinson was I was a little nervous about Aiden Hutchinson returning, mostly because of not the physical. I'm not worried about Aiden Hutchinson's physical. I was worried about the head game, the mind game, right? Can he overcome this again, right? It happened in his collegiate career. I don't think that's the situation. I think Aiden Hutchinson is a psychologically strong enough individual. Again, it's that pedigree that Brad Holmes looks for. I think Hutch is going to psychologically be absolutely okay. What I am worried about now, and this is my big worry, okay, and pay attention, listen very closely. What I'm worried about with Aiden Hutchinson in the 2025 NFL season is that after this whole year from the devastating leg injury and being off, for more or less a whole year, not playing ball, spending this time rehabbing, watching film, developing his mental game, as well as developing muscle groups that maybe were a little bit weaker because he was doing things differently, and now he had to focus on that. My big worry with Aiden Hutchinson is he's going to be so fucking unstoppable this year in the NFL that he's going to just destroy the single-season sack record. He's going to eat players alive on the field. The NFC North is going to be absolutely decimated at the quarterback position because Aiden Hutchinson is going to be such a fucking animal, dude. He is going to eviscerate offensive linemen. He's going to completely come unhinged, be the Michigan mayhem man that we know that he can be, and he's going to own the NFL from a defensive standpoint this year. Defensive MVP, just give it to him now because Aiden Hutchinson will be the most dominant player in all of football next year, offensively or defensively. He will make his mark this year and show everybody exactly the player the Detroit Lions were getting in the draft. That's what I think of Aiden Hutchinson, and that's what I'm worried about, is he's going to destroy opposing offensive linemen. He's going to retire players on the field. Guys are going to go up against him, and they're going to fucking quit halfway through the game. They're going to walk out the stadium and say, I give up. That's what's going to happen. We already talked about Kyle Allen re-signing Derek Barnes. I liked that. He knows Calvin Shepard, right? He's a good player. Levi Onwuzurike, 1 year prove-it deal is what Levi Onwuzurike got. Not too wild about him staying. Wasn't wild about him leaving. He's a very vanilla, prove it to me. Prove to me that you've got what it takes. I know injuries have been big on you, Levi Onwuzurike. I know injuries, and it's not necessarily fair for me to expect a lot out of you, but you got it. This is it. This is the year you got to do it. Marcus Davenport, hate that resign. I hate the Marcus Davenport resigning. I fucking hate the Marcus Davenport resigning right now so goddamn bad. I just don't know if he's got it, right? He's too injured. Availability is the best abilities. He's got too much of a history of being injured. Maybe it's a locker room thing. I don't like it. I do, however, love the fireball Tim Patrick re-signing. He's a great fit in Detroit's receiving room with his size, skill set, recording 33 receptions for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns in Detroit after being a preseason cut by the Denver Broncos. He's able to fit into our offense relatively well. I would like to see a growth out of him, although he is a little bit older. I would like to see a little bit of growth out of him now having a full offseason with Jared Goff and company. Maybe we really see him expand into that Josh Reynolds role. Maybe see it go from 33 to pushing 50 receptions and 600 yards, maybe move that touchdowns up from 3 to 5, right? That's what I'd like to see out of him. Hutch is a beast. LOL, wouldn't surprise me if he plays the whole season with a chip on his shoulder. That's exactly what I'm saying, dude. That's exactly what I'm saying. Beantown Breakdown is that Aiden Hutchinson's going to be a fucking man possessed, dude. He's just look out. Just look out for Aiden Hutchinson. Dan Skipper, we re-signed. Everybody loves your friendly neighborhood Dan Skipper. Trevor Nowitzki, of course, special teamer who was asked to play a bigger role on defense because of injuries last season. He recorded 23 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits in 14 games. That's actually really, really productive for a reserve player asked to play outside of his projected role. I like that. He's also, I believe he played at Saginaw Valley or something like that. He's more or less a local Michigan kid. You got to like it. We re-signed Ezekiel Turner, 7-year veteran, 90 career games. Played in 9 games with 12 tackles, a half sack, and 3 quarterback hits. Anthony Pittman, special teamer, Miles Adams. Some of these guys aren't even going to make it to the active roster, right? Does Miles Adams make it to the active roster with all the defensive tackles that we brought in? We brought in Mitchell Agude, re-brought him back, developing pass rusher with terrific physical tools Lions would like to continue to develop. In 4 games last season, he had 3 tackles and a forced fumble. So there. Look, it wasn't that exciting. We haven't made huge, exciting signings, right? DJ Reed was a great signing by the Lions. Stroud, Lopez, good signings. Yarbrough was a decent signing. Kyle Allen was a signal signing, showing us what's going on with Hendon Hooker. And then Brad Holmes keeping guys that he knows. Derek Barnes, outside of the injury last year, has been on an upward trajectory. Levi Onwuzurike, Brad Holmes has a thing for him, and he gave him a 1-year prove-it deal. Marcus Davenport, familiarity with the organization, but injury-prone, don't like that. Tim Patrick, love it. Fireball Tim Patrick. Dan Skipper, everybody loves your friendly neighborhood Dan Skipper. Nowinski and Turner. As far as depth, Pittman, depth, special teams depth. Miles Adams, I don't like. Mitchell Agude, does he make it to the active roster? I don't know come the regular season. But all in all, yeah, draft, develop, resign. It's clearly the motto and what we've been able to do. We're going to go just kind of peruse through the chat one last time here. I'll give credit where it's due. Even with all the injuries, the Lions still played and competed at a high level. That's on the coaching and culture. Lions fans should feel good about the future of the team. That's coming from Beantown Breakdown, who is a die-hard New England Patriots fan. I really look. If you're a Pats fan, you've seen good ball, right? You've seen historically good ball. So to have people who understand good ball, see good ball, give us credit where credit is due, I'm just going to say thank you, my dude. That is very, for all of us here in the Detroit Lions pride, thank you for that. That means a lot, dude, and that's kind of how we all feel. Same old Lions is a long, old and expired trope that is, doesn't really apply to us anymore. So even with the injuries, the culture and coaching was there. If we stay healthy, the Detroit Lions are. I mean, I'm putting money on them to be in the Super Bowl. Right? Why not? Why not? We have too much talent across the entire organization, and Brad Holmes continues to draft players, draft dogs. I can't wait for the draft. But guys, we just did a quick, basically an hour, right? Maybe a little bit more than an hour, but been hanging out. It was a good show. Chat was awesome. Thank you, chat. Shout out to Beantown Breakdown, Mr. Detroit City there, just kind of locking it down, holding everything down for us there. You guys are really just the MVPs of the show. I was just reading articles. You guys are the ones keeping it going. So, fellas, that's going to be it for me today. We talked about the 10 takeaways from the first week NFL free agency and then breaking down the Lions free agent signings. It's been a good start to a Tuesday morning. It is upwards of pushing almost 60 degrees where I'm at 53 degrees now. Almost time for me to get out and go play in the yard. So, guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been an attentive audience. Until tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bonga bonga. Frig off.